89.9, the Max Alternative. I am DJ Z with you this morning. I'll be with you from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. this morning. And I've got a lot coming up on the show today. Our first show will be talking about some legal issues going on in our world. Today's first topic is going to be photography. We'll get to that later. Right now we've got your weather forecast for you today. A 30% chance of snow before noon. Coming up next, we have Boston more than a feeling, so keep it tuned in. You're to 89.9, the Max Alternative. You're listening to 89.9, the Max Alternative. I am DJ Z. And this morning, we'll be talking about photographers' rights. And we are in the 70s hour. If you have a 70s song request or you'd like to chime in on photographers' rights, the number to call is 234-5373. And that number again is 234-5373. I'm going to read a little excerpt from the ACLU. Taking photographs of things that are plainly visible from public spaces is a constitutional right. And that includes federal buildings, transportation facilities, and police and other government officials carrying out their duties. Unfortunately, there is a widespread continuing pattern of law enforcement officers ordering people to stop taking photographs from public places and harassing and detaining and arresting those who fail to comply. Me personally, I have also had this happen before for taking photographs on public spaces. And if you've ever had a similar encounter, give me a call at 234-5373. I'd like to hear it. We have been talking about photographers' rights this morning, how it is a constitutional right to take pictures of transportation facilities, federal buildings, police, and government officials carrying out their duties. I've always been questioned myself for taking pictures of railroads, trains, some semis. Cops are always asking what I'm doing. A few times I've been stopped and questioned on why I was doing this. Well, it's my right to take a photograph. And it's your right as well. And the ACLU, which there's some things on ACLU I'm not a big fan of, but ACLU on photographers' rights I stand behind 100%. When you're in a public space, where you are lawfully present, you have the right to photograph anything that is in plain view. That includes pictures of federal buildings, transportation facilities, and the police. Such photography is a public oversight over the government and is important to our free society. And when you are on private property, the property owner has a set of rules that allows you to take photographs if you ask them and have the permission. If you disobey the property owner's rules, they can order you off their property and have you arrested for trespassing if you do not comply. So if you're out there taking photographs, make sure you are on public property. And that way you have no right to be arrested or questioned as long as you are on the public's property and not private property. I want to stress that because there's a few times that I've been asked to leave on private property as well that I didn't realize I was, so make sure you know your borders. And let's get back to the talking about photographers' rights this morning. And this is some information if you ever get stopped by the police for taking photographs. Always remain polite and never physically resist a police officer. If stopped for photography, the right question to ask is, am I free to go? If the officer says no, then you are being detained. Something that under the law an officer cannot do without reasonable suspicion that you have or are about to commit a crime, or are in the process of doing so. Until you ask to leave, your being stopped is considered voluntary under the law and is legal. If you are detained, politely ask what crime you are suspected of committing, and remind the officer that taking photographs is your right under the First Amendment and does not constitute reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. The police do not have a right to confiscate your photographs or camera without a warrant. Police may not delete your photographs or video under any circumstances. and police officers may legitimately order citizens to cease activities that are truly interfering with law enforcement operations. Note that the right to photograph does not give you the right to break any other laws. Like if you're trespassing, you could be charged with trespassing for taking photographs on private property. Always remember, as I've been saying, you have a right to photograph anything you wish as long as you're on public property, but as long as you're not being a creeper and trying to spy on your neighbor.